welcome back. Last video we showed you how to make a scoop by using a fixture and hollowing and so on. Since I made that, I've had a chance to make a lot more scoops. It seems like every time you do something over and over again, you continually look for ways to improve the process. And I'd shown you and described a couple of ways to make it better, but I've improved it some more. So this is sort of a part 2 of the last video because I want to talk to you more about other things that are a little bit more mechanical, a little bit more technical, but I think will make the job go faster and smoother. First of all, you've seen the fixture I made. Well, I made a change. I went to the side and cut one of the staves out. What that does is allow me to come in here with almost any kind of caliper, reach to the bottom, and determine wall thickness. These are Mike Joukowsky's calipers. They work fine. Here's one you can make for yourself if you've not seen these before. This is very similar. J. Paul Fennell designed this, but it's basically 2 pieces of bent metal rod, and this distance here is the same distance up here because I was able to adjust this and set it. Works equally well. So I now can measure. That's something I couldn't do before, and I talked about it. I'm also going to show you using a drill bit to set the depth. This is a drill bit of unknown dimension. It doesn't matter. But it does matter that the tip of this is as blunt as the standard twist drill is. We don't want to use a bullet point bit. We don't want to use a brad point bit because I'm really concerned about where the very tip of this bit hits inside. And eliminates the problem of trying to get that little mound right out of the center if we miss it when we're doing turning. The other thing is about these band clamps. I took some fairly expensive clamps, cut them way down, and used them. And you know, there's a cheaper, better way. Go to your big box store and buy one of these adapters. This adapts from 1.5 to 1.25 inch diameter plumbing fixtures for attaching different sized drains. That clamp is on the smaller version. The larger clamp is on the bigger version. And I've decided, although not have done it yet, that the rubber that was inside of that could very easily put inside of here as an additional shim, and something could hold that piece nice and tight. So all components of this adapter could easily be used to make this even one step better, which I probably will eventually do to improve this one more time. I learned also that the expandability of this is limited to maybe an 8 3/16 of an inch. So, because I want to make some smaller scoops, I made another one that's cut at 1.25 inches. This is 1.5 inches. This was cut at 1.25 inches, and it did the same thing. I cut a slot in the side, and I need to shorten this band clamp a little bit, but I will do that. So, the other thing I want to show you, which I haven't discussed yet, is a better way to get that spherical shape on the end of this turned so it's almost perfectly round. If this thing is a little elongated when it goes into here, I'll have wall thicknesses on the sides different than the wall thicknesses on the ends because it's not perfectly round. There is a mechanical way to lay that out into octagons and then knocking off the corners. I'm going to demonstrate that, and it requires just a little bit of pencil and paper work, and I think it speeds the process up. So I'm going to do last video all over again, but with the modifications I've just described. So let me turn out a piece of wood. I've got some blanks here. I'm going to turn these down to 1.5 inches, which is the diameter that this chuck is set for, and I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll be back talking about the steps in the process using these new tools and techniques. Same as last week, but different. Here we go. Okay, there's my 1.5 inches. I'm going to make an 1.5 inch outside diameter scoop. So there's my outside diameter, 1.5 inches. And now I'm going to mark off the length of this. And so you can see it easier. The sphere is inside of that measurement right there. So that's 1.5 inches. There's a number that you're going to have to remember for this technique, and it's 0.4. That's a big one to remember. So that's 0.498. I'm off 0.02. I guess that's pretty close. So 1.5 times 0.4. Let's just do that. 1.5 times 0.4. That's 0.6. So I'm going to make an octagon. 2 faces are going to be here. 2 faces are going to be on the end, which I really can't quite do because of the support. 2 faces are going to be in this plane, and 2 faces in this plane. Each of these planes is going to be 0.6 wide. So let's come down to 0.6. Actually, I probably ought to find the center line here first. Let's do that. 1.5 inches, half of that's 3/4, just to be close. Okay, there's the center line. Now 0.6. I have a set of digital calipers here, which makes it a little simpler. So I'm going to branch across that center line. I mark off 0.6. So each face is going to be 0.6 inches wide. So let me mark off the width of that face. This one face, the top and the bottom. Now these 2 end faces are also going to be 0.6. So we'll leave this set at 0.6. I'll lock it so I don't lose it. And I'm going to turn this end down to 0.6. Need a parting tool. And I'm going to turn this down to 0.6. Getting close. This is sharp points on these calipers, so to keep it from catching, I've got to keep turning the lathe off. When I measure, getting very close. So let me show you what I mean by creating a new face. This is going to be one face here. This is a face. And to get this face here, I'm going to go from this point to this point with a straight cut. So now we can see 2 faces. Almost 2 more faces. I'm going to do the same thing on this side now. At this point, comes down to 0.6. A little extra working room. I can already tell that's too big. Yeah. Sixteenth to go. Second to go. Close enough that one more cut will do it. Okay. This is just clearance. Okay, now from here down to there, that same angle. Now, inside of that is the sphere. We'll reduce this. This waste wood that's waste wood. So now you can see 2, 4, 6, and on the ends 8 faces. Now the trick now only is to come in with my shallow fluted gouge and turn away all these corners. And in essence, if you really need to, I'll just do it for fun here. I'm going to mark the center of each of these faces. Well, close enough. Those are lines I don't want to turn away. Side. Pretty close. So I got a bunch of bumps on here I'm going to take out. A little shear scraping will do it. I'm finishing this off by eye. I can see a little bit of a bump there. I didn't get it quite perfect. Okay, close enough. Now I'm going to shape the handle. I'll take this off later. But while I got some support here, I'm still working between centers. I might as well bring the handle down to rough dimensions also. That'll be the end of the handle. I'm going to take this down a little bit more, and then I'm going to do a little bit of sanding, and then part this off. And I want a little bit of a I don't know what you call that, a little bit of a reduction right there next to the globe. I know from past hollowing experiences that will be important. Grab my sandpaper. Just do a a little 180 grit here for a minute. And we'll park this off. More interested in completing the surface here. At the same time I take the tip off. Don't need that anymore. Okay, smooth that up a little bit. Okay, now we'll take it off on the other end. And I'm going to hold on to it, so I might hide in front of the project by wrapping my fingers around it, resting it on the tool rest, using my thumb to control the tip of the tool. If I get good clean cut across here, I'll have less sanding that needs to be done on the end. Beginning to vibrate. A little bit of cleanup to do, not too bad, but a little bit. It's a good job for the skew chisel. Use it like a carving gouge. Get a little bit off the end. And as much sanding as you want to do. But you know what sanding's about, so we won't do too much of that. So we have the rough project here ready to be put in the chuck, drilled, and hollowed. So let's change over to the chuck. Take this 4-jaw chuck off. Insert my special chuck. And we're going to put this in here. And I got to decide what angle I want. That's probably good enough. And then I'm going to tighten the band clamp. Trust me, that's tight enough. I think that's going to stay. So now what I can do, because I've cut this slot, I'm able to come in here with my calipers. Let's find a pair of calipers. Here's a pair. And reach across this distance here. And by George, it's almost still 1.5 inches. So that is the diameter. Now, how much wall thickness do I want on here? Well, I'm going to say 3/16. So now I'm going to drill down to within 3/16 of that side. I need that dimension. Hang on a second. And I'm going to change out the live center for a Jacob's chuck with a drill bit in it. I don't know what size this drill bit is. Doesn't matter. But I do know the tip of that drill bit is the bottom of the hole. So I want to move down, move this in until the Jacob's chuck has moved from here to here, which is that depth I want. Turn my speed down a little lower, I want that low. And I'm going to start this hole very slowly because I'm taking a point and putting it onto a rounded surface. Once it bites, I'm holding the caliper steady and I'm looking at the Jacob chuck advance. And when it reaches that other jaw of the calipers, I'll be at the depth that I wanted. And I can actually stop a little short of that if I wanted to. So far, we have everything going for us, and this is where I can make a mistake if I'm not careful to line up this tool rest so that this handle, when spinning, does not hit it. I also know that when I'm hollowing in here that I never reach over this tool rest for anything. And I'm going to do most of the hollowing with my shallow fluted gouge, and my experience has been that tool and the Mike Jankowski, what he calls Pocket Rocket version 1, the straight one, represent all the tools I need to do this job. The Pocket Rocket I will use at the very end to just smooth up the interior. So I want to be sure I'm right at center. And you've seen this in the last video, the hollowing. We can go fairly fast if we want to. We know it's not coming out. And I'm going to do everything from this side. First to just open that hole up. Remember, this is a rounded surface, and I'm cutting from the center outward with the gouge rolled over approximately 45 degrees. Holding the tool level and simply moving my right hand forward. So what I'm doing now is determining how big the opening is going to be and how close to the handle I want to get. So I can go down a little bit farther without running into that handle. Hold it on the bottom so you can see better. Now I'm stopping a couple times because I want to see how close to the handle I come. That's probably about where I want to stop. So now I've decided what the top of this looks like. Now I simply have to open it up. So this is about hollowing out. I'm establishing the wall thickness there. I'm kind of curious how close to the bottom I am. Let's find out. I'm going to take my calipers and I want to measure that wall thickness. So I'm going to use the Jankowski calipers. It's on the bottom. That's how thick I am. Well, better than an eighth. That's not deep enough. That's something I couldn't do in the last video. And I'm not quite to the bottom of that hole, but I'm almost there. I just wanted to check. I'm letting the gouge find the bottom of that hole. Let's check again. It's nice being able to do this. Oh yeah, I'm right where I need to be, 1/8 of an inch. No more off the bottom, that's for sure. Now I've got to round the inside so that it matches the proper curve. I could do it with a gouge, but I'm going to use this tool. Turns out to be center line for the shallow fluted gouge and this are pretty much the same. So I don't need to adjust the tool rest. So I'm trying to make sure the first half of it let's see how that looks. Now I'm going to check it with fingers. Pretty good. The bottom is not rounded yet, like I'd like it. So I'm going to find the bottom of the hole. And now it's a matter of continuing to work at it until I like the inside shape. The bottom needs to be a little flatter. It's kind of shaped like that. It needs to be more like that. And as I get close to the finish, I'm going to check it a lot for curvature. It's better. It's not quite as flat as I like it on the bottom yet. Pretty good. A little bit of work right in the dead center. Now I've got to do some sanding inside. I have a pair of hemostats. You can get these at the discount stores, specifically places like Harbor Freight, different sizes. Just roll up a little piece of sandpaper. Okay, let's do a little bit of sanding. I've taken a piece of, I don't know what it is, cloth sandpaper, rolled it up loosely. And I'm using a pair of hemostats that I got at Harbor Freight and literally grabbing it across the ends of the roll, which creates a flat surface that I can get down into the bottom of it. If I move that tool rest, I can break the handle off. Remember, I got to stay here. So the point is, I'm going to continue to leave the tool rest in place even though I'm sanding. It's a good protection for me and the project both. Little internal sanding. You sanded everything on the outside. Well, let's take her out and see what we got. All right. So this edge needs a little touch-up sanding. I can see that already because we haven't touched that yet. But that's easy done with just a little touch of hand sanding. So here's an improved technique for doing the scoop, and it's done via using an improved version of the chuck, a method of laying out the sphere by using the Octagon method, and by using a drill bit to set the depth of the hole. So we've made a few slight improvements over the way we've done it before. And I think, barring the editing of this video, this will have gone much faster than the process we did before. Less time spent shaping here, Far less time trying to get the depth right here and guessing at it, but the hole in the side was an improvement. The next thing I'm going to do is, remember this device I showed you in the beginning. I may cut this apart, put it down in here, cut a slot in it so I have a rubber gasket inside here. Just another improvement that I haven't considered yet, but quite possibly easy to do. This is 1¼ to 1.5 inch pipe adapter in this plumbing department at the local big box store. 2 clamps, one for this size, one for another size. Hope this video was more helpful. If you're interested in turning scoops, this should give you some more ideas to consider as you work forward in your next project. We'll be back, we'll do another scoop, different technique, and we'll see you in the next video. Keep subscribing. We appreciate your comments and your inputs in terms of things we should be considering for future videos. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.